Helicopter goes out on a ledge for a rescue mission in Snow Canyon.
We've actually had a number of business complaints as well as citizen complaints.
Provo police are keeping a closer eye to your speed on Center Street.
Try it. What is it going to hurt? Pardon the pun. What is it going to hurt? And
Physical therapists provide an alternative to combat opioid addiction.
The city has to have a mayor who knows how to lead with a temperament.
The Salt Lake City mayoral debate between Aaron Mendenhall and Luz Escamilla face off.
After a carbon monoxide incident at a local Latter-day Saint church, doctors are advising to check your detectors.
In Salt Lake County, search and rescue teams assist in bringing a large mastiff down Mill Creek Canyon.
Protest in Hong Kong goes violent.
We'll show you how the demonstration took a turn for the worst and what happened to the protesters. A bridge in Taiwan collapses out of nowhere. We'll show you more of the frightening video and tell you the latest on the investigation.
A catering cart goes crazy. We will show you how the catastrophe was avoided in Chicago.
Forever 21 filing for bankruptcy is causing shoppers to stress.
Go to the next location, and that's just really time consuming.
How many stores are closing and what customers are saying.
A terrifying bridge collapse in Taiwan. I'll show you the aftermath and break down the speculation of what caused it.
Plus, temperatures are cooling down across the Wasatch Front today. Coming up, I'll let you know if it's officially time to pull out the sweaters. My full forecast is next.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2020 nominees are in. We'll show you who else joined Whitney Houston as a nominee for next year's ceremony.
If you're planning your travel for the holidays, we'll show you which airline is ranked #1 for families this year.
Fortnite players were plunged into darkness over the weekend. I'll show you what caused the blackout and how people are reacting.
The Cougars and ESPN have agreed to a contract extension.
That's right. We'll tell you how long the deal is and what else it includes.
This does not look like the Jazz team we saw a little while ago.
The Jazz rough road trip continues. We'll show you what went wrong and the tough tests ahead.
And Typhoon Kamuri makes landfall in the Philippines. What damage has been done and how the country is recovering.
We are live in 3, 2, 1.
For me and other DACA recipients and even other undocumented immigrants, home is here.
Utah DACA recipients are at the nation's capital to participate in the DACA March today.
Mexico's security officials announced arrests in last week's massacre involving 9 United States citizens.
I'm live outside Utah State Prison where death row inmate Ron Lafferty was found dead yesterday morning. Ron was set for execution early next year. I have more on him and his story coming up.
Welcome to Newsline. It's November 12th, 2019. I'm Blake O'Rulian.
And I'm Kim Peterson. 2 Utah DACA recipients joined hundreds of activists today at the nation's capital for the Supreme Court's hearing on the termination of the DACA program.
Newsline reporter Berto Sanchez talked to them and joins us in the studio to bring us their story.
Xochitl Juarez and Cyriac Alvarez flew to D.C. last night, joining activists from across the country to rally for their right to live and work in the U.S.
Mexico may be the place where Xochitl Juarez and Cyriac Alvarez were born, but to them, Utah is home.
So I was brought into the United States when I was 3 years old. I don't really remember much.
My family and I immigrated to the U.S. when I was 5 years old, about 17 years ago, and we've lived in Salt Lake City, Utah ever since.
The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, known as DACA, has granted Xochitl and Cyriac, along with thousands of other undocumented immigrants, the opportunity to work legally and become contributing members to society.
DACA has changed my life completely, and I have just climbed the ladder with DACA. You know, it has given me hope to become somebody in life.
And DACA really was an opportunity for me to move forward with my life as a young adult.
The Obama-era program's fate lies in the hands of the Supreme Court as the Trump administration seeks to end it.
The Supreme Court is going to hear oral documents on a few DACA cases, and that's going to determine the future of DACA.
I hope that the Supreme Court decides with the other courts and say that the Trump administration did end the program illegally and allows the DACA program to continue.
If the court decides to end the program, this will bring an overwhelming fear of stability and security.
The thought of deportation or the thought of living somewhere else, when it's not my choice, I think that's the part where it's really, really scary.
This is my home. Home is here. And I can't imagine going somewhere where I don't have all of these opportunities.
The future of DACA remains up in the air until a final ruling that will likely take place in the spring of 2020. Back to you.
Thanks, Berto.
Salt Lake firefighters responded to a 2-alarm fire earlier this morning. The fire was at 27 East Coatesville Avenue and involved semi-tractor trailers and a business shed. Firefighter crews were dispatched around 5 a.m. and the fire was declared under control around 6 a.m. There were no reported injuries and all crews are now back in service.
Mexico's top security official says arrests have been made of suspected cartel gunmen involved in last week's massacre of 9 United States citizens. Security Secretary Alfonso Durazo is not saying how many people have been arrested or giving any information on what organization they belong to. The 9 women and children were U.S. Mexican citizens, members of Mormon communities in northern Mexico, not affiliated with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Provo police are reuniting a young boy and his mother after he went missing with his babysitter last night. 37-year-old Jordana Murray and 7-year-old Victor Rosas Mendoza were reported missing yesterday around 5 p.m. The pair were found 3 hours after the report was filed. Police are investigating the circumstances surrounding their disappearance.
Ron Lafferty, a Utah State prisoner for the past 30 years, was pronounced dead from natural causes yesterday. His case was controversial because of his choice of execution, death by firing squad. Newsline reporter Haley Davis is live at the state prison. Haley, what makes this choice of execution so unique to our state?
Only 3 states, Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Utah, have execution by a firing squad as an option for death row inmates with lethal injection as the primary method. In 2004, Utah voted out execution by firing squad, and then in 2015 reinstated it.
Ronald Watson Lafferty was one of 7 inmates on death row as of August this year, 3 of which have chosen the firing squad for their execution. In 2015, House Bill 11 was voted in again and approved by Governor Herbert. This bill allows the state to use a firing squad if the drug cocktail necessary for lethal injection is not available at least 30 days before a scheduled execution of a death row inmate. The 78-year-old cold killer of 2 was pronounced dead due to natural causes Monday morning. He first entered the Utah State Prison in 1985 with his brother Daniel Charles Lafferty upon conviction of first-degree murder that killed his sister-in-law and infant daughter. Lafferty claimed to have received revelation from God to commit this murder. The 2 were to go on trial together, but before, Ron tried to hang himself to death in jail, as well as attempting to kill his brother. The result? 2 separate trials. In 1996, Ron Lafferty's conviction was overturned on appeal and a new trial was held, and the jury again convicted him and sentenced him to death. Lafferty recently moved to the holding facility containing the infirmary and died Monday morning. His execution by firing squad was set for next year.
Lafferty was one of the longest serving inmates in the county and was set to be the first in this decade to be executed by a firing squad. Reporting live from the Utah State Prison, I'm Haley Davis.
Thanks, Haley.
A man is killed in a police-involved shootout. Cedar City police received a call yesterday afternoon from a woman saying her husband was making threats towards herself, her adult son, and law enforcement. Police arrived at the residence at 820 South and Sunset Drive. Upon arrival, the man pointed a handgun at the officers and started walking towards them. Police began firing and the man was pronounced dead at the scene. The Critical Incident Task Force is investigating the shooting. 2 men are dead after a shooting inside a home in West Jordan. 27-year-old Terrence Nielsen and 29-year-old Anthony Dawson were killed on Sunday night inside the garage of the home on Cali Drive. Investigators say Dawson was homeless and was taken in by the family living in the home, and Nielsen was his guest. Both men were shot in the head. One died on the scene and the other in the hospital. Investigators are treating the incident as a double homicide, but are not ruling out a murder-suicide.
The dog that attacked a man in October has been put down, and just a warning, the following pictures are a little bit graphic. The man bitten was a guest at the owner's home many times before the attack, and the dog never showed any signs of aggression before the incident. The dog left the man with serious bite injuries. As you can see in the pictures, there's deep bruising, 4 puncture wounds. It's not a pretty picture. After the incident, the dog owner's parents agreed to put the dog down. The decision was made after the incident was reviewed by Wayne County Sheriff's Office. Utah Valley University officials broke ground for the Scott C. Keller building on Monday afternoon.
And that's really what it's all about, the opportunity to be better than you were by having an opportunity to learn and progress.
The new building will be home to the Woodbury School of Business, the largest school by head count in the state of Utah. The building will house numerous labs, lecture capture technology, and will accommodate up to 12,000 students. The building is expected to be completed in early 2022.
It's National No Shave November and National Peanut Butter Lovers Month, but Newsline reporter Halston Brown is here to tell us why November is a month to remember.
It's National Adoption Month, and here are some families to share their experiences with adoption.
When we got married, we just figured we'd have kids just like everybody else does. And our friends all started having babies, and we didn't.
It was hard for 8 years to always have that dream of being a mother.
2, wanting to be able to give and to love and to reciprocate. That's a hard place to be in, not knowing if they will be chosen, especially in our open adoption system. Will we be good enough?
They called us from the adoption agency and they said, there's a little boy here that wants to meet you.
In the courtroom, the wonderful experience it is at the end of the adoption process. I was talking to an adoption attorney the other day, and he says, isn't it just so neat? It's a family reunion.
The fact that I was adopted into this family, and that these 2 were adopted into the family, and that we all somehow found each other.
They've blessed me with love that I didn't have before.
I like to play outside with my family. I like to play games with my family.
We always told them that they were adopted. From the time that they were first born, we would tell them the story of their adoptions.
I want to see my birth parents one day. Yeah, me too.
As they grew up, each of them after they turned 18, all of our sons have connected with their birth moms. And it's been great. Our kids are grown up now, and we've got 5 grandkids. And so our life is just really great.
And we love each other.
For more information, or if you're interested in adoption, go to adoption.org. Back to you.
Thanks, Alston. It's the Year of International Indigenous Languages, and BYU celebrated with a Polynesian event on Monday night.
We'll show you how the Museum of Peoples and Cultures honored Polynesian heritage.
When things are hard, I come out here and I hammer on hot metal.
We'll show you how a Provo man started a business that saved his life.
Disney Plus is finally available. I'll tell you how they're bringing a whole new world to streaming services.
And an Arctic blast is freezing out the Midwest and the East Coast, but it's not hitting Utah. Coming up, I'll explain why the Beehive State is in the clear and give you the first look at your weekend weather.